Hello, one and all, and welcome to another episode of Tank School, episode 4, The Power of Maneuver. I'm going to talk about a few topics on this. I'm going to talk about why is maneuver important and how it relates to the OODA loop, which is a tactical theory. I'm going to talk about the 3 elements of maneuver. You're looking at speed, timing, and position. Then we'll talk about a neat acronym or a mnemonic thing that I've created that perhaps will help you play better if you think about it while you're playing. So let's go right into this. First topic, what is maneuver and why is it important? Well, there's a lot of different definitions of maneuver out there. However, I'm going to keep it really simple. It's going from point A to point B to fill an objective. That's it. Now, moving from point A to point B means that you are moving. You are changing yourself in some respect from your position at rest to your position as it stands in the future, and then you, hopefully, by doing so, have gotten yourself one step closer to whatever goal you're trying to accomplish. Okay, that's easy. That's simple. Why is it important? Well, to talk about it, we need to talk about the OODA loop. The OODA loop is a tactical theory that came up about 30, 40 years ago by Colonel John Boyd of the U.S. Air Force, and here's the gist of it. It's observe, orient, decide, act. So, what does that mean? It means make an observation. I am in the game, and I see things. Whatever I'm seeing, what does it mean to me? Then, I'm going to take that observation, I'm going to orient it with what I know with the rest of my brain. Oh, some guy is pushing A. It means that there may be more guys on A. And A currently only has one guy defending. We probably need to defend A. So now we've oriented ourselves and find out there may be a vulnerability. So now make a decision. Should I go to A or should one of my teammates go to A? And then I act. I say, okay, I'm going to go to A. And I'm going to help defend that point. And from that action, what happens? I either kill the guys and I defend A or I die. And I then start the whole thing over again. I now say, oh, I made an observation. The observation is there's a ton of guys on A. I got to get there. But you reorient it and say, well, can I take on 4 guys? Well, yes, no, maybe tank. Maybe I should wait for more guys to spawn in, so on and so forth. So the first example we're going to go over is not a tank example, but instead an infantry example. This is an example of a 32 versus 32 organized match that I played in, and suffice to say, in this match, we're playing on Russian side, let's try Kharkin. There's one tank on the Russian side on the E point, which means it's a capital point. And the worst has happened. We have lost our E point. I have lost my tank. We got to get E back. And so let's take a watch on this clip. Shit. I got E back. So we're going to push it back. Going to push it. There's not many guys in there. We're going to just go right into it and try to push into E and grab back. And I go down. I'm going to fast forward through it because there's a little bit of other stuff in it. But we'll try it again, right? Okay, there's a few guys there, but that's okay. I only saw a few guys there. I'm going to try to push it again. Nope. Not being successful. Now we need to start taking all this information and really bring it into the fold. And so here's what happens. One of my squad mates says, well, I'm going to flank around and go on the train side. And so I spot on him, and then we start to push it up. We start to push it up and expose and take those flanks away from them so that we can flank them. Get a revive, that's great, and we keep on fighting it out. And as we're fighting, we're in a better position now. Now we're ready to take the point from more than one position where we're able to get on them. That maneuver that in this case TC Zapper, one of my squad mates, was able to do was critical. He said, I don't need to engage them outright. What I need to do is I just need to be there for when my squad mates come back in, so that by being there, we can now take another position and flank those defenders, because they're all positioned for guys to come one direction, and they're not positioned for guys to come in the side direction, which is where we went around the train. We attacked them from that train. That's what the OODA loop's all about. It's making a decision, and then if it's successful, then great. If it's not successful, think about it. And that second time, I wasn't thinking. Second time I pushed it, thinking, oh, well, maybe it was just lucky. No, they really had it on lockdown. We had to do something different, and so TZ Zapper got around, and we were able to take that point back. Good stuff. Okay, that was an infantry-only example. Let's take a tank example. In this scenario, it's a tank-on-tank battle. It's on a 32 versus 32 match, but somehow the tank has gotten behind me. And so I'm pushing on this C bridge on Seine Crossing. My teammates tell me, hey, they are pushing up that tank across the over bridge. You need to be ready for this. So what do? I see them, and I look. Oh, I see my mini map. I start positioning around. I'm positioned so that my reactive armor goes first. He gets some good hits on me, but I know this. I know that if I ram him, I'll eventually get the flip on him, and I get the flip on him, and then I'm able to take that last hit and kill him. I very rapidly did a series of OTA loops in my head of making observations of where he was positioned, whether he could or couldn't get out of where he was, depending on if I pushed him or not. And since he turned, he couldn't just reverse away from me pushing into him or taking damage from me. And so I was able to really use it to my advantage. Using that OTA loop over and over again and maneuvering accordingly. Once you sort of get that mental process down, you can make these decisions a whole lot faster. It's not just about shooting people. It's not just about killing people. It's about the best way that you can get the advantage over the opponent and complete your objective. In this case, the objective was just to kill this guy. But killing the enemy tank isn't limited to what the tank can do. There's a number of different objectives that the tank can accomplish. In fact, one of them is simply to be a presence at a given point. And so in this example, this is an example where the F point on Go Full Mon 32 versus 32 has been taken. And so I'm going to get back on F point and simply make a presence there. I'm there by myself. I'm waiting for my infantry to show up. I know that I'm on the flag. I'm not burying it, but the flag radius isn't very small. And so I just have to look only in a few areas to know that they're somewhere there because I'm not getting the bleed. But now I am getting the bleed, which means I've killed them or I've pushed them off that cap radius. By doing so, by being there, just by being there, I was able to force them to maneuver around the enemy to get out of the position, because if they stayed in their position, I would have killed them because I knew that cap radius. So because of that, I was able to help get F point. And I didn't even get that many kills there. I just was there. Even the presence of there can change how the opponent makes choices, makes decisions. And I didn't really want to kill them. I didn't care if I killed them or not. I just wanted to get that point grade out so that they don't spawn back in, so my friendlies can eventually come in and sweep them out. My objective was not to kill them. It was just to grab that point. We were successful in that, even though I didn't get a kill or not. We got to think beyond the construct of just killing dudes. It's about winning the game. So, let's talk about the 3 elements of maneuver. Now, in thinking about these 3 elements of maneuver, I want you to stop for just a second and think Quake and not Counter-Strike. What do I mean by that? Let's talk about Counter-Strike. Counter-Strike is a game. It's a bunch of guys, infantry versus infantry. They're fighting each other. They fight each other and they kill each other within a very short period of time. You will die probably within 750 milliseconds to a second if it's a one-on-one gun battle, right? You peek them, you get a headshot, you kill them. It's that fast. How's it different than Quake? I'm not talking about like Quake Live, Quake 3, Quake 2, Action Quake. How's it different? Well, in those Quake games, you don't die in a second. Oh no. You have a bunch of health. You have a bunch of ruins that can give you a bunch of extra health as well, beyond your 100%. You have armor, lots of armor. Yeah, you got armor in Counter-Strike, but it's really not the same. You can get armor, and you can get these really prolonged battles. And what's happening in those battles? You're trading rocket shots at each other. You're shooting shotguns and machine gun fire and hybrid blasters and other things like that. And you're not dying within a second or so. These battles between 2 people as they're jumping around like crazy and rocket jumping and what have you, takes a long duration. It may take 5 to 8 seconds to actually have a battle end. And on top of that, because of how fast the players move in Quake, you can have this sort of sudden burst of fighting and you may take 50% off the guy, but then he'll be able to maneuver around. He'll be able to jump to the next place, get some health, get some armor, get some more rockets, whatever it may be. And on top of that, because of that, you now have to sort of time everything, in the sense that if you're shooting rockets, you have to not only figure out where they're going, but you have to get a prediction of how they're moving, and then fire accordingly to fire to get that lead time compensated for. In this respect, if you look at speed, time, positioning, Quake is a whole lot similar to tanking in Battlefield 3 than Counter-Strike is. Think about it in those terms. It means that as a tanker, you don't die instantly, which means that you have time to react. Time to react. That's a really important thing to remember. 2, it means that since you have time to react, and your gun has a certain timing associated with it, in the sense that you fire and you reload and you fire again, you're able to position yourself in ways that allow you to maximize the amount of damage you do while minimize the amount of damage you take. And then 3rd, you have speed. Just like in Quake, you can quickly get out of there or go from one point to the next way faster than infantry can. Now, not as fast as a helicopter or even a Vodnik, but unlike a helicopter and Vodnik, if you take a lot of there's nothing that you can do if you take a lot of damage, because then you'll fall out of the sky. And I'm talking about like a tank shot to the Apache or to the helicopter, or a Stinger missile where it disables you, that kind of thing. This is why tanking is so much different. Why maneuver is so important, is that you have the opportunity to react when something bad happens. So let's talk about speed first. The first example here is on Gulf of Oman, and we are pushing on to Bravo. Now watch how fast I go with the IFV. IFV is a well-fashioned tank.
I think I'll check it out.
We're going to push this up. We're going to push up on Bravo and try to gray it out. And I do something that you think may be a bit bold, but what I'm trying to do is push in as hard as I can and get them distracted. Make a presence. I run over a few of them. I don't maneuver quite that well, and I run into a few guys. But see, I'm constantly moving back and forth. I'm constantly changing my position to force those AT guys to have to reposition themselves to hit me. All those guys on the air side of B now have to move along the beach side in order to hit me. And so I'm keep on firing. I see 2 guys behind me. I take some last shots. I still have all my reactives gone, which is good, and I move around to clean them up, and I ended up cleaning it up. It wasn't easy, but it provided enough distraction to those engineers and all the other people there, the infantry, the tank guy, the other tanks there. They were able to clean them up enough that we were able to get the win on this. Oh, and then at random, I get killed by a javelin. I don't know what that's about. I had my smoke. Doesn't matter. We're not gonna worry about that aspect of it. So that's sort of the importance of speed. With speed, I was able to move so quickly that it forced the enemy to reposition themselves if they wanted to get a hit on me. Well, all the while I was killing them like crazy. Maneuver is important. Don't be a still target unless that's your objective. Let's talk about the timing aspect of it. The tank gun and canister, until recently the new patch, they have a cadence. They have a tempo. It's fire. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fire. And it goes on and on. No other gun has that. I mean, yeah, their RPG and SMA have that. Certainly the autocannons on the helicopters and IFVs have that, but the infantry guns, no. I mean, the closest thing you're going to get to is a bolt-action rifle. Fire. Pull that bolt back, put it back again, fire again. That cadence means that you can only need to be exposed to fire every so often, and couple that with how the damage operates. What happens when you hit someone with a tank shell, an infantry? They die in one hit. What happens if you hit nearby them with a tank shell? Does some splash damage. What happens if you hit them with a canister? It does an insta-kill. In this respect, it's a lot more like a railgun or a sniper rifle when utilizing that main gun. And since you can basically kill someone in one volley, and you'll have to expose yourself for few milliseconds to get that shot off. Combine that with the speed element of you being able to move back and forth, you only have to expose yourself for a little bit. And so we're going to take a look at this one from a 1v1 perspective. I am fighting a guy, and in this 1v1, we're fighting sort of on this billboard, and I have to kill him. That's my objective. This is a 1v1 armor match. So I see him. I don't get a hit on him. Not good. But I am positioning. I'm moving back and forth.
What is that about?
And I'm doing this all the while I am taking shots on him. So I'm peeking. And as I'm peeking, I notice, oh, my reactive armor on my right is gone. I'm going to reposition myself so that I can have my reactive armor that's up on my left to be exposed to him. I see him. Don't see him.
I'm stuck, though.
I see him. I'm waiting. I get a shot on him. While I am waiting, I transition and position myself so that he would always hit my reactive, and sure enough, that's what he does. And then I get some last shots on him, and he's down. The timing was very important in that, because I only needed to expose myself for a little bit before I could retreat. There's no reason for me to be exposing myself when I'm not going to do any extra damage to him by simply being there. It's really important to remember. On top of this, there's other ways that sort of other examples that I can think of that also kind of illustrate this. Going back to Same Crossing 32 verse 32, in this particular scenario, I'm simply trying to kill infantry that are trying to push up from C onto B. And so I scoot, I push on up, and I see one, and I fire. I do 2 volleys. This is pre-patched, and so this is not going to be something that you can do now, but
Hey, good job, guys.
I'm firing and I'm retreating. I'm firing and I'm retreating. I'm firing and retreating. That's all I'm doing. And getting a few kills on it here and there. That's all I'm trying to do. And while I'm trying to take the enemy tank out on the other side, I see a guy pushing up. My guy helps me, but then I push up and I try to get some hits. Not getting anything yet, but sure enough, I see some guys here. I fire. Don't get some hits either, but I'm still doing damage. I'm still only exposing myself for a little bit. And once I am able to get repaired, I'm eventually able to start pushing up and keep on doing damage. That sort of example is why you can push up, take a shot, and then pull back. It's really that simple. There's no problem with retreating. You don't have to stay in the battle. Finally, let's talk about positioning. Now with positioning, it's about making sure that you do the minimal amount of damage, or you take the minimal amount of damage, and you have exit strategies. Positioning is not just about you getting the good shot or you taking the least damage. It's you needing to get out of there or push ahead if the time comes. So we're going to get, this is a really cool example of me on Same Crossing 32 vs 32 Conquest Small. And in this, I am fighting a 1v1 tank. We both have big armor squads with us. We have 4 or 5 repair guys on us at any given time. So let's watch this. So on the top, I'm on Russian, and I see him, and here's what I do. See what I did there? I shot the rubble. What's my objective here? My objective here is to take the tank out. But if I can't do that, I need to at least deter him. And so I'm going to take his repair guys off. I'm doing damage by destroying the rubble above him, and have that rubble destroy his repair guys. And while I'm doing this, I am making sure that my front and my shallow sides are only exposed, and I am moving back and forth. Because what's he doing? He's getting smoked by our mortars, which he can't see me once he's smoked, which means that I can move back and forth, and he's taking extra shots at me. He's missing. As I do this, I keep on putting the rubble down because I know that even if I were to take every shot I can on him itself, his repair guys, 4 or 5 of them, are going to repair him a whole lot faster. And then with the help of my mortar crew that was helping me out, we eventually take out that tank, eventually. And there it is down, and that's the end of it. You see, I wasn't necessarily putting all my damage on that tank. It was just as important for me to kill his repair guys as it was to kill him as the tank itself. And with enough persistence, we were able to get a bunch of kills, and getting a bunch of kills is good, and getting that ticket bleed on him. But eventually we were able to take him out. All the while, he was sort of trying to position back and forth, had his front towards us, but unlike my tank position, he couldn't reverse back. He would have to reverse at an angle to take that A road to block himself. Whereas I just had to reverse straight backwards, and I would have been in the clear. I wouldn't have taken much more damage. That's a pretty big difference. Now that we've talked about the sort of sane crossing example, let's go to one more example for positioning. This one's a 1v1 armor on Operation Firestorm. In this example, I see that there's a tank on my 9 o'clock. He gets a hit on my reactive armor. So what I do, instead of going that same direction I was going, I start turning around. And now my 3 o'clock armor and my rear armor are the side that's exposed. And so if he gets a shot on me, it's going to be absorbed by the reactive armor. Now I sort of go back. I thought, well, maybe he's trying to flank around me. But again, just keeping that reactive armor towards him. As I do this, I'm looking for him. I see him. I get a shot on him. He gets a shot on me, but my reactive armor goes down. I get a shot on him, get him disabled. Now he's smoked. He isn't. I'm going to keep on moving, so he can't easily hit me. And sure enough, I get that last kill, and he's down. That was sort of a combination of both positioning myself, timing, because I knew that when the smoke goes up, he's going to be obfuscated for a few seconds, and speed as I'm moving so that he has a much harder time trying to hit me. And when he does hit me, I want to make sure that he hits my reactive armor. That's sort of the mindset that we have to go to when thinking about speed, timing, and maneuver. Or speed, timing, and positioning, rather. Excuse me. Let's go to the tip, though. I mentioned the tip before. Let's talk about it. And the tip is a simple mnemonic phrase. It's Mr. Rafasa. What does that mean? Mr. Rafasa is Mr. Maneuver rapidly. Ra, reactive armor. Fa, front armor. Sa, side armor. I want you to think Mr. Rafasa whenever you're fighting. Maneuver rapidly. What is your objective? What are you actually trying to accomplish? Are you trying to kill a tank? Are you trying to kill infantry? Trying to take a point back? Trying to defend a point? When you think about what your objective is, you will then have a much clearer picture of where you should and shouldn't be going. It's not just about killing dudes. It really isn't. It's about positioning yourself and being there for when your team needs you. If you're trying to push a flag and you don't have that support, then maybe pushing that flag is not a good idea, especially if you have a majority of flags anyway. Maybe it's better to be on the defensive. Maneuver rapidly. Always think about what your objective is. If you are going to be maneuvering and you are going to take some damage, you want to take the reactive armor to hit first. Ra. You want to have your reactive armor put in a way that if you're going to take damage, the reactive armor absorbs it. And when you take that damage, I want you to think back to maneuver rapidly. What are you trying to accomplish? Because if you get hit by one engineer, he's going to fire and he's going to reload. It's going to take 7 seconds to reload. That gives you 7 seconds to get out of there. Gives you 7 seconds to react and reposition. And there's 2 engineers every 3 seconds. 3 seconds is a long time. You can move really fast with that tank. Position yourself to get out of there, and then get out of there. Let's talk about the second aspect of it. Frontal armor. If you're going to take hits and your reactive armor's all gone, make sure you hit they hit your front armor and not your sides and not your rear. If you can do that, and your reactive armor goes down and you take a front armor hit, you can take 2 to 3 front armor hits, depending on what you're getting hit by, before you get disabled, which means that you can get out of there real fast. Remember, what are you trying to accomplish? Maneuver rapidly. If you need to get out of there, you need to get out of there. If it's not your objective to stay there and to hold that point and die, and that's a viable objective, then you need to get out of there, reposition, and get out of there. And then finally, side armor. If you are going to be engaging them and you know that your sides are exposed, position yourself so that if they hit your sides, they hit at the shallow angle, like I said in episode 3. By doing this, you minimize the amount of damage, and again, this is not about staying alive. This is about staying alive long enough so you can react and get out of there. Because if you're in a position where you're taking a bunch of hits and you don't have a repair crew with you, then you are not going to be able to survive long. Sorry. Unless you are a crack shot and can shoot them with your tank or your heavy machine gun or your canister, and there's more than 2 or 3 guys here, you're not going to kill them fast enough. You're just not going to be able to. Think about that for a second. There's 3 engineers in a squad there, and let's say you are really good and you kill the first 2. and you kill the first two, they take out all your reactive armor, but you are unscathed. You kill the first two, so that let's pretend for a second you shoot them only with your main gun. So you hit the first one with the main gun after you take the initial damage, and you kill one. You wait 4 seconds. Uh-oh, they didn't peek. You're going to shoot you at second 6. You shoot them again at second 6. Now there's 2 down. Now, you're waiting for that last one. Another 4 seconds until you reload. He doesn't show up. Why is that? It's because the first guy that died, it's been 10 seconds. He's going to respawn that guy. And now he's going to move around and try to hit you again. And then maybe you kill that one other guy, but there's still one left. And that additional 4 seconds that transpired to hit that guy finally, that second guy that died is now back in the fold. You see how problematic this gets? Even if you are 100% successful at engaging them when they peek out, if they are patient, they'll be able to get their guys back. And your reactive armor's gone. And you start taking real hits, and then you eventually get disabled, and then you're done. Think about that. So let's look at an example of Mr. Rafasa in action. In this case, in our 1v1 armor. I fight a guy, I see a guy. Uh-oh, I take that front hit. I want my front armor there, but I want to take some reactive armor hits. And so I'm moving back and forth, and I angle myself just enough, and sure enough, he takes a hit on me, and it takes out my reactive. He pushes me, but I position myself in a way that his next hit takes out my other reactive armor, and I have my front position to him because I don't want to have my other sides exposed, and eventually I get that kill. It's that easy. I'm positioning myself so that when I take damage, it's going to be minimal in nature. So, Mr. Rafasa, again, maneuver rapidly, looking at the reactive armor, front armor, and side armor. Mr. Rafasa. Let's take a final example of this, sort of a capstone that sort of puts all this together. In this example, I'm pushing with a tank onto the C point on Strike Karkin. And as I'm pushing up, I'm pivoting back and forth. I'm utilizing sort of these areas where they can't see me that well, but I can see them. And so I'm firing through this sort of pillar, all up while pivoting back and forth, taking shots on them. I don't want to expose myself unless I have to. I'm again taking shots on them. I'm backing up. Again, to reposition myself so I can take another shot. And see, I fired right through those little supports and got more hits on him. So he peeks again. I'm doing more damage. I kill one of his repair guys, I believe. And I'm just waiting for him to peek. There he is peeking again. And my reactive armor's up. I'm 100%. I'm doing good while doing a lot of hits to him. So again, I'm trying to hit him, do some more damage, and then I'm going to start pushing him. My guys that were near C, get some side hits on them, and we'll be able to take them out. Now I'm going to push on to C because my objective now is to hold C. I want to make a presence for myself. I'm positioning myself so that if the B guys hit me, they'll hit my reactive armor, and if the guys on top of C hill hit me, they'll hit my other reactive armor. But the APC comes. APC doesn't, their gun doesn't affect my reactive armor, and so I'm almost down. But sure enough, my infantry team is with me. They take them out, and they give me a repair, and I'm done. We get the point back, I survive, and I exercise patience when doing it. So that being said, let's look at some final thoughts. Final thought number 1. Thinking about all of this while playing is not easy. I said, yeah, this looks easy. And I said it sort of cavalierly, but thinking about the OODA loop and thinking about how to position yourself, thinking about Mr. Rafasa, thinking about speed, timing, and position, while playing the game is not easy to do. It takes practice. And since it takes practice, keep it simple. Start simple. If you can't easily do all this while playing, and I'm not saying that if you can't, then you're stupid or anything. Start with the basics. The most basic question is, when you are playing in the tank, what is my objective? What am I trying to accomplish? Am I trying to take a point? Am I trying to defend a point? Am I trying to hold a flank so they don't flank us? Am I trying to be a guided missile guy and shoot down aircraft? What's your objective? How are you going to benefit your team when playing? Think about that. When doing this, though, be patient. You don't have to be in the fight constantly. It's not team deathmatch. You don't have to be fighting every 5 seconds. Being patient allows you to take a step back and to think about what's going on in the game at that moment. Reverse a bit. Take yourself out of danger. Look at the mini-map. Look what points you do and don't have. Why can you do that? Because you get speed. If you need to get there, you'll get there really fast. Really fast. And lastly, don't be afraid to retreat. Staying alive is important. If you are dead, it may take 30 to 40 seconds for that tank to respawn, and it may take you another 20 seconds to get into any position to react accordingly. You are giving the enemy team nearly a minute of freedom to move their tanks and their assets all the way around. That's a big deal. Having that tank there, that presence, as I mentioned before, is huge. Staying up is huge. It's okay to retreat. It's okay to retreat. Finally, think about Mr. Officer. Think about that because if you can think about that and incorporate it into your gameplay, you will survive longer in the tank. You will be able to maneuver rapidly while staying alive and aid your team better. That's the power of maneuver. Episode 5 is going to be coming up soon. Going to talk about a bunch of things. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for tuning in. Until next time.